Right. Hello, everybody. We're going to give it just about one more minute. Let people work their way in. Hello, George. All right. We're going to get started here. Welcome to the Everything You Need to Know About HCL Premier. This specific webinar will be more or less dedicated to just the ins and outs of this specific event tier of the overall fall season of HCL. So not strictly a registration webinar per se, but more or less just how does this actually work? So we'll get into it. Here is the kind of overall agenda for us today. We'll meet the HCL team, really me in this case, and how the Premier season works, the games, the structure, the format, the competition platform. We'll go over that a little bit and essentially just point out where these different resources exist, as well to find where to find any other help materials, and as well as pumping up our educator Discord so you guys can all connect with each other in this space. So that is me. My name is David. I am a tournament coordinator here. I am an HSEL GM and a platform service agent. So I do a lot. Odds are you'll probably get an email from me at some point in the season, especially if you make Premier. I went to Western Michigan University. I have a bachelor's in music composition, so not necessarily esports related, but I digress. And then I have some past esports experience, just working in my local community here in Kansas City. My favorite game is Rocket League. I also do dabble in many RPGs, but if we're talking esports, it's going to be Rocket League for me. So just to start things off, Premier kind of 101. So this is the upper echelon of HCL competition. So everything is region-based. Top 16 schools per region will have to will qualify for a pre-scheduled round robin regular season. If you attempt to qualify but do not hit 16 or higher, we will move your roster's registration or your player's registration into the fall major tier. So Premier offers the most direct path to HSEL Nationals. It's not the only path, but it's the most direct path. And Premier teams get essentially two chances to qualify. One, by winning your Premier region, and then if you don't, you will have a second chance in the Nationals wild card stage. All right, so here's our calendar. Qualifiers start on the 18th. This is just the window of time when the qualifiers are. We will get into a specific day calendar of when the qualifiers are happening. But just know that the 18th through the 29th, that is your window for qualifying. Regular season, October 2nd through November 17th. We'll take a week off of playoffs, or week off before we hit playoffs, just to make sure everything is nice and people can rest over Thanksgiving. And then playoffs, we allotted 3 weeks of time in case anything happens, but generally it's going to take about 2 weeks for playoffs. All right. I mentioned this before. All of these are regional competitions. So here's our region map. We have 4 regions: Central, East, West, and South. It is dependent on the state that you're in. So if you are ever wondering, what region am I in? I don't know. The region maps are linked on the tournament pages. You can always refer to the slides, which you will receive, uh, at some point the next day. You'll receive a recording of this video and the slides. But if you're ever curious, just know you can go to our website. You can go to the tournament page on our platform. You can also check out the slides to see what region you're in, or you can ask one of us. So qualifiers. This is the hard schedule for qualifiers. Just to give you guys the rundown here. Again, September 18th through the 29th is the window. This does run in tandem with the major tier preseason. So if you're curious, everything starts on the 18th. It's just Premier's a little bit different. So there are 6 available queue rounds or queue windows for Brawlhalla, Rocket League, Valorant. Those are our games. Participants can play in up to 5, but you must play in at least 4. So just to reiterate that, because it can be kind of confusing, but it is important. You have 6 available windows to choose from throughout the span of 2 weeks, and then you only need to play in at least 4. You can play at most 5. So ideally, everyone that is qualifying has played five matches. Losses will be added for an unplayed match. So if you go 4-0, you're going to end qualifiers at 4-1. And then if you go 3-0, that's great that you won your 3 games, but you didn't play at least 4, so that will actually disqualify you from advancing into the season. And then again, just the top 16 per region will qualify into the Premier regular season. So in total, for Valorant, Brawlhalla, Rocket League, for each of these games, there will be 64 schools in each across the country that will have qualified into Premier. So all games have last chance queues. You'll notice if you're looking at the schedule, generally, Brawlhalla it's Tuesdays, but then it also has a Friday on the 29th. Rocket League is Thursdays, but also has a Friday. And then Valorant takes a long time, so it just has to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 1 queue per day. All right, qualifiers continued. We get this question decent amount. Can multiple rosters/players or participants, can multiple participants from the same school from the same school team qualify for Premier? So to further explain, my school team, Central High School, to be very, very generic, I have 2 Rocket League rosters. I have a Rocket League A and a Rocket League B. Unique players, 3 players on one, 3 players on another, no crossover between the 2 rosters. Can both of them qualify for? The answer is no. Now they can both play in the qualifiers, but as our rule here states, they can both play in the qualifiers, but we're going to take the best one. So think of it like any varsity JV type setup. You can't have 2 varsity teams. You just gotta have one. Even if your JV team is really good, that's awesome. But it's just gonna be 1 premier roster per school. All right. Again, this is more of an informational webinar about Premier, but you guys still use the queue system for qualifiers. So to help with understanding that, if you need a refresher, we're just going to watch the queue system video just to make sure that everybody understands what qualifiers are going to look like once they come around. Awesome. All right. So that's a little bit about the queue system. Again, that will only be used for the qualifying stage. It's just the best way for a bunch of people to register for a tournament, put them all together, and see. So once we get into the season, let's say you've qualified, you're in, you get the email, and it's awesome. Um, so again, 16 qualifying teams per region. They will be sorted into two groups of 8 to play a 7-week round robin season. So you're playing one match per week. You will have your full schedule on day 1. Technically, you'll have your full schedule on Saturday, September 30th, but day 1. So the top 4 from each group, so just the top half, will advance into the playoffs. So just to reiterate, your top 16, you're going to be sorted into either A or Group B, and then if you are finish that 7th week 4th place or higher, you will be in playoffs. So in terms of match days, going to stick with the same days as qualifiers. Tuesday is Brawlhalla, Wednesday is Valorant, and Thursday is Rocket. The match times per region. Again, so now that this is no longer queue, this can be flexible if you so desire, or if our broadcast team is wanting to stream your match, these could change. But the default match times per region, East, Central, South, and Pacific, are listed here below. They're also going to be on the overviews, which I will transition to in just a second. All right, playoffs and wild card. How does that work? So each regional tournament will have an 8-team playoff featuring the top 4 from both groups. Covered that part. The format is a GSL group stage into single elimination semifinals. Sometimes we call single elimination semifinals the knockout stage. You only have one life, you can't lose, etc. So, what is GSL groups? This is as it says, a small scale version of a double elimination bracket where each team has 2 lives. If you advance out of GSL into single elimination finals, that means you won either the upper finals round or the lower finals round. So in a typical double elimination, you play through the whole thing until there are 2 teams left, and then those 2 teams play each other to see who's the winner. In this, once you get to those last 2 teams, instead of them playing each other, they're then pooled into a single elimination semifinal with the other 2 teams from the other side of the GSL bracket. Basically, this ensures that if you get one mistake, let's say round 1 just gets off to a rocky start, your playoff run isn't over. You will have a second chance to essentially regain and make it to that knockout stage, and maybe even make it all the way and win your region. So the playoff schedule is live. These slides have the link to the schedule. The tournament overview also has the link to the schedule, as we will see. And again, win your premier region to claim a spot in nationals. So again, most direct path. What is the wild card? This is an alternative way to qualify for the nationals kind of main event. So you can win one of the 2 wildcard tournaments. There's one for the fall. There's one for the spring. So all non-winning HSEL Premier participants, so if you don't get first, they'll be invited to a seasonal wildcard, along with the major tournament regional champions. So what that means is, Brawlhalla, Rocket League, and Valorant have their major tier counterparts. So the winners of those tournaments, or the champions of the Rocket League Fall Major, will also be sent an invite to participate in the wild card. Think of it like a promotion system. Now, that is a very hard path because not only do you have to win against a bunch of teams, but then you also have to play against all the premier teams. So in premier, your chances are better because you get 2 opportunities, and you've already been playing all those teams and improving. And overall, your competitive experience will essentially prepare you better for something like a wild card. All right. Last thing here is coaches or team admins, you must accept the invitation and opt in for your specific roster to be seeded into the wild card. It's never going to be a mandatory thing. We're going to invite you and you have to opt in. So what does that mean for nationals? So games that have Premier. If you've seen other things in HSEL, you know that not all games have Premier. This is just Valorant, Rocket League, Brawlhalla. So these will have a total of 10 national spots up for grabs throughout the entire school year. So we have the 8 Premier Regional Champions, 4 in fall, 4 in spring, and then 2 wild card champions, 1 in fall, 1 in spring. Yes, that means the wild card champion beat every single other team. The non-winning Premier teams and the major regional champions. You got to beat everybody to earn that spot. All right. We don't need to spend too much time on this, but this is a big rule update. It applies to Valorant schools. Just know that in the past, we allowed streaming from the spectator slot. We will still allow that if you are verified by us. There's an application process now. You can submit that, take some pictures of your lab. It's just a way for us to make sure that the people who are using a tool that grants you a lot of visibility to the game isn't being abused. Now, if you don't want to go through this process for Valorant, you are still welcome to stream from the coaches slot. You do not need to be verified for that. All right, prizing and scholarships. Do students win cash? No, they do not. So the monetary prize is in the form of scholarships, which we work with the nonprofit Video Games and Esports Foundation. They hold these scholarships in escrow for the students, and basically the student will then say, hey, I won this scholarship. I'm going to, I'll say Western Michigan University because that's where I went. And then the VEF would send that money directly to that college's financial institution. Again, national invitational placement is where you get scholarships or have the opportunity to win scholarships. Playoff placement. So for Premier, we obviously have trophies and pins for the players to sport on whatever they so desire. And then there are also quest participation. So there will be different things like win 3 games in a row, go undefeated, things like that, that will award on platform trophies. All right, so we do still have our team management and tournament registration guides here in our video playlist, and the link to the full playlist is also included right in the text below the thumbnails. But for the purpose of time, we'll move on. So our esports educators community. This is a Discord server. If you're not already in it, highly recommend you join. It's a fantastic place. The invite link is now in our chat. You are welcome to join. There's a bunch of educators in there. We're in there. Usually this is where we'll kind of bounce off some ideas and get people excited for what's to come. But it's also just a great place to network with other educators. All right. Now it is time for questions. So I know there were a couple people who jumped in kind of midway. So please feel free to ask any questions. I will allow everyone to go off of mute. So I'm just going to go down the list. If you have a question, you can type it in chat. You can unmute yourself. There is no wrong way to do it here. The floor is open.
Can you hear me?
Okay, thanks, and I'm sorry for joining late. I don't have any specific questions, but I am going to reference the materials that you dropped into the chat
Sure.
to find out how this affects our local community.
Sure.
Can you hear me? This is George.
Yes. Hi, George.
I'm starting a brand new esports team at the high school level. What's the best league these kids should compete in? I saw
Yeah,
there's
so yeah,
something about a youth league this year.
that's a great question. So for HSEL, there are 3 levels of competition. What we just went over is obviously the highest level. So it's really kind of dependent on where your specific group or groups of students are at. The scenario that I imagine most schools will encounter is that you'll have some students who are quite advanced in the game that they're competing in, and then another good handful of students who are quite new. So we do cater to new students as well, students who are just wanting to learn the game and still try to develop their skills. That's called training grounds. Um, so, and then there's the middle tier, which is major. So if students do feel confident enough to play in an official competition, win a trophy, possibly go through the wild card, then major is good for them. What I would recommend is if the students feel confident in attempting to qualify for Premier, just go for it, because the worst that can happen is you don't, and you play in the major tier, and you still have a structured season to play through with awards at the end. I hope that helps.
Yes, that was helpful.
Awesome. Wonderful. All right. Anyone else?
I've got a question if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
So my name is Jay. I'm calling from San Antonio, Texas. And we're not familiar with our local area that much. Is there like a contact list within various schools or school districts that would help connect with the right people for that we need to know for the program?
Yeah, so what I can do, I can put you in touch with our education representative that works in Texas. So her name's Kristen Kraft. She'll be able to help you out in that regard.
Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah. What I'll do right now, I'll put my email in the chat. And if you would like, you can just send me an email, and then that way I'll forward you to Kristen.
Okay, I'll stand by until I see it in the chat. Okay, I got you. David at generationesports.com.
Yeah, that's correct. That's me. Yeah. So feel free to
Okay.
send me an email. Yep.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Last thing I'll point out is on these slides, as you can see here, remember, you can book a call with us if you ever need assistance. We're always here to help. So if you want to schedule a meeting, feel free to do so. We do like one-on-one Google Meets, phone calls, email, live chat, basically whatever is going to work best for you. That's where we'll meet you. So I'll leave the floor open for about another 5 minutes. If anyone has any other questions, and if not, you are free to have some of your time back for the day. Hopefully it's not too hot. We're in Kansas City, and we just got out of our 100-degree week. And that was rough. So hopefully you get some 30 additional minutes to enjoy your day.
Sounds great. Have a great afternoon or evening to your time zone.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, bye-bye.